Is that something that could happen in the United
I just wanted
States?
to
Pressure on our healthcare?
really go over the sign of the Son of Man. Um, throughout the entire Bible, the sign of the Son of Man is prophesied, I believe, for this time. That's really important that God, to reiterate, God controls times and seasons. You'll find that in Genesis. You can go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, and God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate day from night. Let them serve as signs to mark sacred times, days, and years." So again, special alignments, days and years. So seasons and all of those kinds of things are in the stars. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. And it was so. God made the stars. God made the greater lights and lesser lights to govern the day and night. He also made stars. God set them in the sky and to give light on the earth. So automatically you have the setup for the the heavens and the earth, the the stars, and all of the astronomical alignments as the earth spins and rotates. You have a essentially the external space around the earth is a constant pattern. It's a pattern that never stops, never ends. It's going to be an exact alignment and pattern at every single moment in history. So that's already so God is fully enveloped in His creation in space, in outer space. So that's the first important point to make, that God is in all things and through all things. So He holds all of space together, all of the galaxy together, all of the stars, all the light of the stars, hitting the Earth that we see in these astronomical alignments. God is in all of that. He is. It says He is light itself. He is the truest and pure light of all creation. When you go to, we can go to. Here's another point where the Pleiades is mentioned in Job chapter 9. He He seals off the light of the stars. He alone stretches out the heavens and treads the waves of the sea. He is the maker of the Bear and Orion, the Pleiades, and the constellations of the south. He performs wonders that cannot be fathomed, miracles that cannot be counted. He passes by me, I do not see him. He goes by, I cannot perceive him. If he snatches away, who can stop him? So again, I think that may reference the sign of the Son of Man, Venus and the Pleiades. The sign passes by me, but I do not see it. So again, the sign of the Son of Man has been a recurring sign for, um, since the beginning of the Earth started spinning. Literally, as long as Venus and Pleiades coming together in alignment has been happening, the sign of the Son of Man has been occurring. And occasionally under the right conditions, you get a what looks like a supernova piercing through even the evening sky. So before the sun even goes, as the sun has gone down in the evening, you would see the light shining through the sky in the evening. Here's I can pull up just a basic picture of Venus and the Pleiades. Compared to the seven churches. So there's the seven churches. You can clearly see the shape of the seven stars. Now I'll pull up a picture of the Pleiades. There's the Pleiades. There's the 7 stars. You can clearly see the exact alignment of the 7 churches and these 7 stars. They're exactly the same. So I'll go to back to the Bible, and you just go to, here's again another reference to the Pleiades. Job 38:31. 38. So we already have established that God's signs in the heavens are set by God from the very beginning. Here's Job 38. Who can bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades, or can loosen the belt of Orion? So again, that would only be Venus. Venus in its moment of passing in front of the Pleiades actually outshines it. So here the Pleiades are pretty noticeable in a really clear night sky, as the cluster is really bright together. When Venus was passing in front of it, it's much brighter. So Venus would actually amplify the light. Here's a picture of Venus in the Pleiades right here, and that's on 2044. So there's Venus in the midst of the 7 stars would look much brighter than just the 7 stars by themselves. It would become much bigger and brighter. Even the light actually amplifies the stars themselves, kind of combining and creating this supernova effect, because Venus is already extremely bright. Venus is already brighter than every other object in the night sky. So it's amplified during this perfect alignment, getting even sometimes recorded hues of color, rainbow like colors, possibly coming through the atmosphere due to the alignment. So it'd really be a sight to see, and I'm not sure exactly how and when this is going to happen. As far as the appearance of it in 2044 or 2036 or 2028, I don't know enough about the science behind it to know exactly what it's going to look like. But needless to say, it will be in the midst of the 7 stars, which is the fulfillment of the sign of the Son of Man, which I'm about to show. So, as we can see, he's saying only God can bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades. So only the alignment of Venus and the Pleiades supersedes the Pleiades themselves. Here's Revelation chapter 1. Here's the first initial statement. Look, he comes with the clouds of heaven, and every eye will see, and even those who pierced him, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn because of him. So shall it be. Amen. So that's, I believe, a reference to the sign of the Son of Man. I believe that's being referenced right here. Venus going into the midst of the 7 stars. He piercing through the clouds of heaven. So in the perfect alignment, you would get this supernova effect, which would shine through the evening sky, being the brightest thing in the night sky, or in the evening sky. After the sun has begun to go down, at a certain point, Venus will actually be brighter for a period of time. And Christ then in the Revelation calls himself, he makes references to the 7 stars right after this. So it's in John's visit. I turned to see who was speaking to me. I saw 7 golden lampstands, and among the lampstands one like the Son of Man. So that's the confirmation that this is the sign of the Son of Man. His feet like glowing bronze glowing in a furnace, and his voice like the sounds of rushing water. In his right hand he held the 7 stars. So again, Venus is Jesus is Venus, and he's holding the 7 stars together. So again, when the alignment happens, you get this effect of light, the light merging into this one kind of massive, orb of light. It would look really incredible because the light of Venus would sort of penetrate into the other star, the 7 stars. So you get this incredible effect. I think it would look really, really neat in the perfect conditions in the sky. So all of these descriptions of Jesus now start to sound like the alignment of the 7 stars. When I saw him, I fell at his feet. Do not be afraid. I am the one living and was dead. Right, for you have seen what now is and what will take place later. The mystery of the 7 stars that you saw in my right hand and of the 7 golden lampstands is this. The 7 stars are the 7 angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 lampstands are the 7 churches. So that's the perfect description right there of the mystery. And then Jesus describes the 7 stars as the messengers to the 7 churches. And then Jesus goes on to say he is the bright and morning star, which is Venus. So the sign of the Son of Man would be the bright and morning star merging and coming into the midst of Venus. Jesus, Revelation 22:16, I have sent my angel to you to give you the testimony to the churches. I am the root and offspring of David, the bright and morning star. He's saying, I am Venus. This is the sign of the Son of Man. It couldn't be more obvious. Jesus couldn't be making it more obvious. It would just take people to read the text and then look at astronomy at the same time, which I later did. So I'll open up the program. So we've established that the seven churches are in the position of the 7 stars, and I have multiple pictures of that. They're in the position of the 7 stars. They align with the Pleiades. Jesus aligns with the bright and morning star Venus. Venus and the Pleiades align together at certain times in astronomical alignments. These only occur every 235 years when a full alignment occurs. So I looked at when did this occur. I wanted to know how often does it occur, when did it occur. Did John see this in the book of Revelation, and maybe he's just trying to relay what he saw. So I looked it up. I got a program, a astronomy program, and I began to just look at different dates and times. John wrote the Revelation in around 90 something AD, and he then sent the letters out. So I'll just go to just to be consistent. I'll go to the night sky where John was, Patmos, Greece, right here. This would be Turkey. We'd want to go to the evening time. I'll set the time to evening. I'll show the constellations. So let's just go to John was in 95 AD, so you put 95 and then March 10th, and go to the point where Venus, we see the Taurus. So there's Taurus right there. It's 96 AD. Venus isn't there, so we simply would just want to find when does Venus appear. There it is right there. So in 100, you get Venus is right there. See? Venus is near the Pleiades. So now we know exactly where to start, and then we just want to jump ahead 8 years at a time. There it is in 108. So I can go back before John wrote the letter, and Venus is not in the Pleiades. See, 72, it's not there, it's down here. So it's 76, it gets close to the Pleiades. There it is, getting closer to the Pleiades, not quite in the middle. There's 84. So this is only occurring literally at this slice in time when John is writing the Revelation. So it's the 100 AD. It's getting closer, right in front of Patmos. I personally believe John wrote it in 92 AD. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's when Venus is actually over the star of Patmos. So that would be Patmos itself. If you look at the corresponding star, as you can see, there's Patmos. Patmos is the star on the corner. The angle is slightly different here because it's angled differently, but there it looks better right there. There's Patmos. So you can see the 7 down here and this up here. See, Venus is right over Patmos, as it says in the text. John is in Patmos, so he's the one initiating the letter. So Jesus is Venus coming into the midst of the 7 stars. So John sends out the 7 letters. So what would be the odds of Venus passing all 7 stars over the next period of the next 50 years? That's exactly what it does. So see, it starts to move closer and closer over each star. There it goes. See, Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira. In the text, Jesus says, "I will blot you out." Where Venus actually moves in front of a particular star. So he's describing the sequence of events in the Revelation of Venus actually dancing around the Pleiades. That's the actual sequence of events being described in code in the book of Revelation. There it is in 124 and 132. So 132 is pretty close. You could also say it was in 124, it was actually right in the midst of the Pleiades. So 124 AD. So about 32 years later was when this actual alignment occurred. And that could be, I'm sure, many significant events were going on then, but I haven't even looked this up, but let's look at 24 AD. I'm so confident about the astronomical code that I know something big happened at this time. Emperor Hadrian begins to rebuild Olympion in Athens. (132). There's a lot of church history going on at that time. I didn't find anything for this particular date, but that doesn't. There isn't a lot of history on the church in Turkey. My guess would be that they understood the text, the letters that they were given, and compiled them together, and knew that this alignment was a sign of the Son of Man that was coming to them. Because it says it's a recurring sign. It says this sign that must come and will take place hereafter. So here 132 or 124 or 132, this would have been a big sign, I think, to the church that would have seen this on the night of March 9th, 124 AD. And then you just, again, 367, you get the same alignment once again. There it is in 367, aligned approximately in the direct middle of the seven stars. It's not always exact. It has slight variations in its and in the rotation, but you're going to get a very approximate point in the middle. And this is actually when the Book of Revelation was codified, and on March 16th, the letter of Athanasius, the festal letter, Easter letter of Athanasius, where the Book of Revelation was codified into the modern canonized Bible at the end of the book. So again, that's very significant date for many reasons. Well, not also that it pertains to the Book of Revelation and to this prophetic code involving the sign of the Son of Man, and this happens multiple other times throughout Christian history. So these alignments will keep popping back up at really interesting times. 1088, when Pope Urban initiated the crusade. There it is aligned again in the midst of the seven stars. 1550, just to name a few dates. 1550. Right in and around the time of the Reformation. So the Venus is literally coming into alignment with the Pleiades during the whole lifetime of Martin Luther, the nailing of the 95 Theses. So you can actually go back to 1518 to when it first actually started migrating into the Pleiades, literally as Martin Luther, 1518, a year after Martin Luther nailed the letter to the church in Wittenberg. 1558, 1566 is when it seems to be fully aligned in the middle. But there's always a little slight variation in exactly where it's positioned. It might be anywhere within this general circle right here. But you can clearly tell when it's in the middle and when it's not in the middle. I mean, Venus will be, out here in general, farther away, and then it kind of gets closer and closer to the middle for a period of time, for a period of literally one point out of this cycle of 235 years. And you're going to see it here's another 1777. Move it back. (1793). So again, this is the leading up to of course, the Declaration of Independence, the Revolutionary Wars beginning in 1777. You can then see the star beginning to migrate toward, its destiny, the sign of the Son of Man, for I believe, the God's will and prophecy for America to be born, to flourish, to expand, and where the church would thrive for a time and grow and expand, where Protestantism expanded and Pentecostalism expanded in America in 1902, which God definitely intended. Here's 1793, 1801. And finally, in 2012, in our day, Venus is once again in alignment. So over this entire generation, Venus has been slowly moving toward the Pleiades. Here it is in 2028, not quite exactly in the middle. 2036, it's really close. In 2036, it's right here, and in 2044, it looks to be just above it. So it's going to take a few positions around and through the Pleiades at this time. Given all the dates, all the alignments, the understanding of the sign of the Son of Man being so significant throughout biblical history and throughout the Bible, I do think that this sign is for this generation. It represents something powerful. I think a great awakening, a movement that's going to begin in our day and carry on into the future.